Welcome to another episode of the Disposable Reviewer Show. I'm your host, the Disposable Reviewer, and this is my co-host Manni-kin. Today we're going to talk about family values and the negative effects of drugs on this very special episode. I'm just kidding. It is a special episode, but it's special because it's a 1-year anniversary. At least, if this video wasn't so damn late, it's the 1 year and a month or 2 anniversary. Yay! Not too late to celebrate. Don't judge me or I'll judge you. Since this is a special episode, I decided to review a game that's really important to me. In fact, it's what inspired me to pick my name for the show. If you get the reference to my name, or if you just look at the title of the video, then you'll know what game I'm talking about. Without further introduction, boot it up. This being a special episode and everything, I kind of figured we'd do something special for the title, specifically not the dogs barking. Well, okay, yeah, what did you do with the budget? You bought drugs and other things that ruin family values, really? Did you plan this out ahead? Do you read the scripts, and then say, I'm gonna say this? And that hurts me a little bit. You know how long it takes me to work on these jokes? Okay, you're forgiven as long as I get some of that soda and candy, damn it. Moving on to what really matters, let me tell you a tale of when I was younger and I was merely a disposable child without a mustache, if that's easy to believe. It's Christmas time and I'm excited to open gifts, specifically for video games. I'm like 6 or 7 at this point. And what's cool is that you typically knew when you were getting a video game. You open up the packaging and it's freaking Snow Buddies. Who the hell gets people Snow Buddies? Nobody wants a DVD of Snow Buddies. Why would you do that to anybody? Anyways, you pretty much knew when you had a Sega Saturn game based on the case, even if it's gift wrapped. And under the tree was a gift specifically for me and Sergeant Taco. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sergeant Taco is actually my brother. I didn't know what game it was. I was just really excited to get a game. I didn't know how much it would impact me later on. This game's actually called Scud, the Disposable Assassin. You see the disposable part? The game was released in 1997, and it's actually based on a comic book, a fact I didn't find out about until later on when I figured out how to use the internet. Now let's jump in and judge this game, like I judge all of you. Scuds are robots that can be purchased from vending machines. They are designed to assassinate a target, then self-destruct once they finish the job. This game follows one particular Scud who learns about his fate if he kills his target. Since Scuds are programmed with self-preservation, this Scud decides to severely wound his target rather than kill it, thus allowing him to live while taking care of his target. Now let me just jump in here and say that I'm going to use some of my knowledge of the comic books to explain part of the story from the game. See, the game doesn't actually really do a good job explaining anything. Most of the time they just say, this is happening, and you have to just go with it. I don't really like this because if you're not a fan of Scud or you never read the comics, you're going to be kind of pushed out of this because you don't really understand what's going on. The intro cutscene makes a lot of references to the comic books, so fans should be happy with that, though the game actually changes up the story a bit, which is a little refreshing. Basically, this girl, named Susudio, though the game never mentions that fact, so I'm guessing that's how you pronounce the name, was hired to assassinate Scud. The game never explains why he's being targeted, so just go with it. Susudio builds her own robot named AM-2 to take out the Scud. The game then goes back in time to when Scud was purchased. A monster named Jeff has been murdering employees at a Manni-kin factory. One of the employees is tasked with disposing of the monster, but not being up to the job, he buys a Scud to take out Jeff. The game then lets you take on the role of Scud as you encounter Jeff. The game can actually be played in 2 ways, with a regular Sega Saturn controller to make it a side-scroller shooter, or with a light gun to make it a rail shooter. No matter which mode you play, you're still going to get the exact same story. Now, this review on this video is actually going to focus on the side-scroller part. Why the focus on the side-scroller part? Well, it's obviously due to the fact that I grew up solely on that part. Plus, these things, they don't work on modern TVs anymore. See what happens with progress in technology? Down with progress! Down with technology! Down with... I apologize for that. Apparently that's not the message this video is going for. The executives tell me that they think somebody messed with the script. I don't want to point any fingers, but So you play as Scud on his murder quest. As hinted by the guy that hired Scud, you're gonna have to get past security. Seems a little weird that they wouldn't just turn off the security so Scud could just get to Jeff, seeing as Jeff is causing the problems for the factory and Scud's trying to help, but they needed some sort of enemies, so why not? You literally just run to the right and shoot anything that moves. You can, if you like, pistol whip things like a badass, but that requires close contact with bad guys and they hurt upon the touch. Their bullets hurt too, of course, so dodge those. That's pretty much it, besides jumping. Scud does move kinda slow, so you'll want to run through the level, though the game doesn't always register you trying to run. As you mow down bad guys, they can occasionally drop tin cans, which you can shoot and cause health or weapons to pop out. I'll explain the weapons later, cause right now, we gotta focus on killing Jeff. After getting through the Manni-kin factory, which, by the way, Manni-kin will judge you for killing his family, you'll come face to face with the Beast of Nightmares, Jeff herself. But first, the game changes to first-person shooter mode. Jeff pops out, and now you get to fight her by shooting as fast as you can, while also shooting her projectiles. Oh, and if you weren't gonna have nightmares from Jeff, don't worry, the game goes out of its way to make sure you do. As you're fighting Jeff, dead bodies hanging from chains start scrolling from one side of the screen to the other. Now you could try to lie to yourself and say, well, this is a mannequin factory, so these are obviously mannequins. But mannequins don't bleed from their freaking eye sockets. In fact, while making this video, I learned that mannequins don't bleed at all. Manni-kin told me, so it has to be true. He did say they cry though, which is kind of weird.
Live long and prosper.
Don't shoot the dead bodies. Doing so causes you damage for some unexplained reason. My best guess is that it causes emotional damage to Scud. As messed up as this seems for a fight, it's actually kinda needed. Without the bodies blocking the way, this fight would actually be very easy. Anyways, you almost kill Jeff, causing a cutscene to occur where Scud calls a hospital to keep Jeff alive so that he doesn't self-destruct. Then Tony Tasty,
This is Tony Tasty.
who will be a treat for the comic fans and a for the new people, will say, he got your message.
Got your message.
Yeah, I don't recall Scud ever sending him one, but who cares? Cause I mean, if he didn't, then we wouldn't be able to move the plot forward. He hires Scud to murder someone so that he can pay Jeff's hospital bills. The game goes on in a similar fashion. You run to the right, for the most part. Then you fight a boss, which varies from side-scrolling boss fight to first-person shooter like with Jeff. The exception to this is the last level, which is a boss rush. All in first person regardless of how they were fought before. All of which takes place in 6 whole levels. That's right, the game goes from start to finish in only 6 levels. Now, 6 levels is actually very short. Too short, in fact. I mean, sure, you can die and lose all your continues and lives and have to start from the beginning, but once you get it down, it's still pretty short. And most of the levels are pretty straightforward, except for the second level, the jail level. This level doesn't play too differently than the others. You move and shoot, but you go through doors that lead to the next part of the prison. The game goes into first person mode as you shoot dogs, then back to side scrolling as soon as you're out. And you go on like this trying to make your way through the prison. You'll probably notice the different letters in each new hallway you get into, and you'll probably notice that it is descending from the start of the alphabet. After you leave hallway G, you're back at A. You keep going and end up back in hallway G. Again, after exiting that hallway, you're back at A. You now find yourself in an endless loop. There's actually a trick to all this. You can actually jump over doors to skip them. Doesn't matter which door you pick in hallways B through G, but once you get to hallway A, you have to pick the correct door in order to get out of the prison. Now here's the problem with this. You are never once told this. Now you could maybe figure it out, maybe by mistakes or by paying enough attention, but as a kid, this is where I would get stuck and die a lot. I don't know how I figured it out as a kid. Odds are it was probably just luck. And if I hadn't figured it out, I probably would have never played this game again. What's the point of playing the same 2 levels over and over again?
Check the manual, stupid.
I did check the manual. It doesn't tell me anything. It gives me a description of the level, but it doesn't tell me that I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to get out of there. I don't know why they did this. Maybe because they realized the game was too short and they wanted to prolong it, but it seems really cruel. That's the biggest problem that I have with this game. They don't tell you what to do. And it's the second level. Maybe if it was like the last level, I could kind of understand the going for a maze thing, but they don't tell you anything. They just expect you to figure it out. And you can figure it out eventually, but what's the point? It just seems really, really unnecessary to do it this way. Side note, I'm not too sure if on the rail shooter part that you have to go through a maze section or not.
And sure, the game is short, but you can play it again with the light gun, which turns the game into 12 levels instead of just 6. And not only that, you can play as another character named Drywall in single player if you beat the game. Playing as him changes the story a bit, so there are 6 levels right there. I recommend playing once with one of the characters in one mode, then again as the other character with the other mode. If you have time, then play both characters side-scroller and one time as whoever in first-person shooter mode.
Or, if you have a friend, which I seriously doubt you do, you can play this game in co-op. By the time I actually got a few of these light guns, Sergeant Taco grew up and he stopped playing games with me, so I lost my second player. And I can't test it out now with, like, let's say the intern, because again, these things don't work for modern TVs.
As for the sounds in this game, well, it's alright. The music in the levels are pretty forgettable, though the music in the menu screens are pretty cool. You'll be hearing a lot of gunfire coming from Scud, or some weird noises coming from Drywall's gun when he shoots. Plus some added bonus points because the gunfire will change depending on the gun that Scud or Drywall has. Speaking of his gun, Drywall has my favorite gun ever in this game. He has a piranha gun. It's a gun that shoots piranhas. Yeah, the fishes. It literally shoots out fishes. And when he gets gun power-ups, they're different fishes. Yeah, sure, Scud gets power-ups too, but he doesn't shoot electric eels. Scud shoots energy beams and spread her like waves. But blowfish? It's blowfish! When's the last time you shot a blowfish at someone? And as for Scud and Drywall's looks, well, they look amazing in this game. I imagine that had I been a fan of Scud through the comics and then played the game, I'd be blown away by how they came to life through the Sega Saturn. They look and act how you would expect them to. And even though I got introduced to Scud through the game first, I think what appealed to me most was how he looked and acted. Also, there's a space level that looks pretty cool in both modes, and it feels right since you start floating in the opposite direction after you shoot. In general, the visuals in this game are pretty great.
Alright, Manni-kin, put up that spoiler warning. There should be a time on screen should you not want the ending ruined for you.
The last level, as I mentioned, is a boss rush, then a side-scrolling section. This level takes place inside of Drywall, which is pretty cool and would have been amazing to explore if it wasn't just a boss rush, but that's just a side complaint. The real complaint is that this level is just kind of a giant letdown. After killing all the bosses, all you do is shoot a giant missile out of Drywall. And I know that may sound pretty cool, but it's not, really. You pretty much just shoot the missile upward as you're trying to climb up. I mean, it's different than most game endings, which is slightly refreshing, but it's actually fairly difficult to aim. And if you mess up, you're gonna need to go back down to try to shoot it up again. Sometimes you may need to even restart all the way at the bottom. Oh, and you're timed. And if you don't finish it before the time is up, you lose. Like, that's it, game over. Doesn't matter how many continues you have or whatever, you're just done, back to level 1. And even if you do get the missile out of Drywall, then you get a cutscene and the game ends. There's no awesome final boss fight, it just kinda ends. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I was expecting more. And as for the cutscene, it's okay, but it kinda just ends with Scud and Drywall giving each other a high five. Though if you beat the game as Drywall, you do get a secret ending, which I actually didn't know about until I played again for this review. It does close the game out a little bit more, and it leaves the game open for a sequel. I thought it was pretty cool and a nice treat for fans of the comic. It even has Oswald the Rabbit, so you know, it's perfect. Assuming you know who he is. There is another Scud game released, but I don't know if it continues the story since I never played it. I'm just putting it out there. Also, Drywall goes inside of himself through unexplained reasons. He just kind of gets sucked into himself. I guess he just disappears. I don't know. There's already enough unexplained. I guess I shouldn't be questioning this either.
Overall, Scud the Disposable Assassin is a pretty decent game. The story could use a lot of work, and it could possibly push away new people to Scud. The gameplay is varied enough. You can have your rail shooter or you can have your side-scroller shooter. And although the levels are pretty straightforward for the most part, it can get too confusing at times. The visuals in this game are great. There's a nice amount of detail added throughout the whole game. As far as audio goes, well, nothing's really memorable, but it's not bad. And now it comes time for my final judgment. Is Scud the Disposable Assassin disposable? The game, I mean. And it's not an easy answer to give. I can see it two possible ways. As either somebody who's never heard of Scud before, or as somebody who's read the comics and is a fan of Scud. If you've never heard of Scud, this game gets the recyclable rank. And if you have heard of Scud, this game gets the reusable rank. I'm giving this game pretty much straight down the middle of the road, depending on your circumstances kind of thing.
Scud the Disposable Assassin for the Sega Saturn will always hold a special place in my heart. So although I tried to be as objective as possible, I'm pretty sure my personal feelings bled through this a little bit, which is why this game got a double ranking. If you're a fan of the Scud comics but never played the game, give it a try, though I wouldn't say go out and get a Sega Saturn just for it. If you're new to Scud, I'd actually highly recommend that you read the comic books before trying out this game. I think it'll make the experience more enjoyable. But if comics aren't your thing, then I would just say avoid Scud. There are better shooter and Saturn games out there for you.
Well, Manni-kin, how does it feel to have worked on this for a year? Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. On behalf of the Disposable crew, me and Manni-kin want to say thank you for everything. And we'll keep reviewing for as long as we can. What the hell was all that? You guys know this isn't the last episode. We're still gonna do new episodes after this. This isn't the series finale. It's just the anniversary. Thank you.
Hey! Happy late anniversary. Thanks for waiting. On the left you got the last Disposable Reviewer episode on Splatterhouse 3, and on the right you got the last Disposable Minutes on Super Dodgeball. Check them out, and be the most disposable you can be. See you next time.